We're going to make a brown sauce. Now, not everyone has the time to take and roast beef and veal bones and make a stock from scratch, and this could take 1, 2, 3 days to properly make something. And most of us work and are in a hurry to do things, so a brown sauce can be used as making pan sauces or flavored sauces like a Madeira sauce. And this is kind of a shortcut that we're going to make from beef broth. Now what we've got here is I've assembled the ingredients. We have 6 ounces of unsalted butter, 1 cup of all-purpose flour, a mirepoix, which consists of 1½ cups of finely diced onions, 3/4 of a cup of finely diced celery, and 3/4 of a cup of finely diced carrots. We're also going to add to this 1 diced roma tomato, 5 parsley stems, 1/4 teaspoon of thyme, 1 bay leaf, and we have here 12 cups of beef broth that we will end up reducing to 8 cups or 2 quarts. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our stainless steel non-reactive stock pot. We're going to add our butter to this. We're going to melt the butter, and then we will cook the flour in the melted butter for about 2 minutes, just to get that floury taste out of the flour. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 12 cups of beef broth, put them in a pan, and bring it to a boil. And then while this is boiling, as soon as it comes to a boil, we'll take a non-reactive pan and we will melt our butter. Our butter is now melted, and we're going to dump in our flour and whisk it to make a roux. And we're going to cook this over a medium heat for about 2 minutes. Our beef broth is boiling. We're going to gradually add this into our roux. And we will whisk this as we add this in to keep the roux and the stock smooth. We don't want this to burn to the bottom of the pan, and we don't want it lumpy. It's best to add this gradually, and it always seems to work best if you're using a hot broth rather than adding cold broth to the hot roux. I know right now it looks like a gravy, but this will thin down as we add more and more of the stock. We will then add the vegetables and reduce this from 12 to 8 cups. And we'll use this as a base for a number of different sauces. Adding the vegetables is going to impart a lot of flavor to this, and also it will remove a lot of the salt from the canned beef broth, because the canned beef broth will taste a little salty, and then when you make something from the stock, you don't want it to be salty. You want to season it afterwards. Add the rest of our beef stock. And we want to kind of bring that up to a boil. And we will add our vegetables. So we have our 1½ cups of onions, 3/4 cup each diced carrots and celery. Give that a quick turn. Already smells good. We'll add our tomatoes. When making a beef stock, or even if you're making this from scratch, you wouldn't do it with poultry stocks or fish stocks, but beef or veal stocks usually require the addition of an acid, and that's the reason for adding the tomato. We have our bay leaf and our dried thyme and our parsley stems. Now we're going to bring this to a boil and reduce it to a simmer and let this reduce to 8 cups. And that is a slow process that might take a couple hours or so. Our sauce has been reduced now from 12 to 8 cups. And what I have here is a bell pot. You could use a stock pot pan or whatever. We have a fine mesh strainer. This is called a china cap or chinois. And we're going to take and strain all the vegetables out of the stock. That takes a couple of minutes. All the flavor should be extracted from the vegetables at this point in time. And this will give us a nice sauce to use as a basis for other things. It goes especially well with stuffed pork chops that you can braise in this sauce, and it'll absorb a lot of the flavor from the pork chops, particularly if you use a boned-in pork chop. We're trying to crush our vegetables here and extract as much of the sauce and flavor out of this as we can. And this seems to be about the easiest way to do. You can see how the sausage is coming out of the bottom of the strainer. Well, we've extracted all of the juice from the cooked stock, and if I did this correctly, this should give us approximately 2 quarts of sauce. Yeah, it looks like I've reduced it just a little bit more than the 2 cups. We could thin this out just a little bit if we want a little bit of water. And there you have it, your basic sauce that you use for Madeira sauce or braising pork chops or beef, lamb chops, make a lamb stew. There you have it.